And all of you, can you be seated? Thank you so much. And yes, a warm good morning to one and all. Here we are at the third most critical track of the Future Summit, the Summit of Future Kerala 2025 that have been hosted by Jain, the Dean to the University, Kochi. And we all know a famous quote that have been rendered by the Margaret Thatcher. She once said that like, the earth we are here right now is not something that have been granted to us or have been passed on to us by our ancestors, but something that we have all borrowed from our predecessors or like the people who are to come or the future generation. And how we have to attain this sustainable future or any developments that is not done with keeping in mind the matter of sustainability, is it forever lasting? These are all the crucial things that we need to consider, or maybe the elephant in the bag, we could say like that. And here we have got an eminent panel of speakers who could very clearly educate us or enlighten us on this matter. And may I very, very humbly introduce each one of them to you in an elaborate manner. So starting with the moderator who will very seamlessly navigate through the session, we have Ms. Renjini Thampi, who is an innovator, widely recognized as the glass upcycling woman, and she is a pioneering figure in the realms of upcycling, art, and eco-conscious entrepreneurship. As the founder of Vapasee, a brand that have been dedicated to upcycle decor, she transforms discarded glasses into striking, sustainable art pieces that inspires a mindful approach to living. Renjini's commitment to sustainability has earned her notable accolades, including incubation at the IIM Bangalore's NSRECL and selection for the Climate Collective Launchpad in 2020. In 2021, she was honored as one of the UN Women Industry Disruptors, and let us all welcome her together to this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us and to your valuable time. And we are joined by Professor Venu Rajamony, who is also a keynote speaker, followed by, he's a former Indian diplomat and author with over 34 years of service. He served as India's ambassador to the Netherlands from 2017 to 2020 and was the press secretary to President Pranab Mukherjee from 2012 to 2017. Professor Rajamony has also held key roles in the Ministry of Finance and as India's permanent representative in the OPCW. What a great privilege to be having you here with us, sir. Thank you so much once again. And one man who have actually restructured the way people have been doing the world of architecture until then, we have Dr. G. Shankar, the Honorable Padma Shri Awardee, and he is an internationally acclaimed architect with an international presence. And he is known for his pioneering works in the sustainable architecture world over. Known as the People's Architect, he has won over 15 national awards instituted by the Government for India and for his interventions in architecture. And he was awarded Padma Shri in 2011 by the Government of India. Thank you so much for all the things that you have been consistently doing to the world of architecture, sir, and welcome. And now we have the founder of the Sanctity firm, Mr. Baiju Chakkum Kulangara, and he is located in Shoolagiri, Tamil Nadu, and which was once a barren land but has now transformed into a thriving farmland community since its inception in 2016. Starting with just 5 acres, Sanctity firm has grown to over 300 plus acres of lush greenery, offering 20 plus eco-friendly and architecturally remarkable properties. So let us all join together come on, let us put our hands together to invite Mr. Baiju Chakkum Kulangara onto the stage. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much for holding up the sustainability. And finally, we are joined by Mr. Mohammed Fayaz Salam, an accomplished CEO and director of Moopens Energy, the top EPC company in Kerala. With over a decade of experience in the solar industry, Mohammed Fayaz has proven his expertise in leading the company to success despite the intense competition in the market. A graduate of Oxford University with an MPA degree, he has received several accolades for his exceptional leadership and business achievements, including CEO of the Year Award and the Best Leadership Award. With a vision of making solar energy accessible to more people and areas, Mohammed is optimistic about the future of the solar industry and the increasing power plant at Kulangara, Maldives. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Fayaz Salam, and once again, welcome. And with that, I think I shall hand over the charge to our wonderful moderator, Ms. Renjini Thampi. Kindly take over the charge, ma'am. Please. All right, there is a slight change in the plan, and I'm pretty sorry for the inconvenience and for the convenience caused. So, Professor Venu Rajamony, and we have got, of course, the ideal person to be moderating the event. Handing over the charge to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My very distinguished panel with experts in various fields, faculty of Jain University, and students. Everybody is comfortable with English? Good. So I'm extremely happy to be here this morning to talk to all of you, and I have lots to talk to you, but I'll try and keep my remarks as brief as possible while conveying the main message to the students in particular. And let me begin by complimenting Jain University and its faculties, the main organizers, on organizing such a wonderful summit. Please give a big round of applause. It is great that they are encouraging students to think about the future, and they have called this a summit of the future. And if you see, the title of the session is Futureproof, Building as a Sustainable Living. But there is a subtitle to the overall conference saying, are you ready for the summit of the future? So my purpose here this morning is to tell all of you that you are not ready, we are not ready. In fact, there were great traditions of sustainable practice in India, a lot of which we have lost, and we need to bring them back. I'm sure all the panelists will also talk about it. So I would like to emphasize what students can do, what Jain University can do to build sustainable living on your campus, in your individual lives, and in your community in our wonderful city of Kochi. There was a study recently which was published in the New York Times, which said that individual and household actions can lead to up to 25 to 30% reduction in emissions. And that is what I want to talk to each one of you. And this study focused on 4 major sectors: food, transport, energy, and waste. Food, transport, energy, and waste. These are the sectors that I want to talk to you briefly about. And along with that, I will also speak to you about water and water management. It was mentioned here that I was India's ambassador to the Netherlands, and Netherlands is a world leader in sustainable practices. Netherlands is also the world's best country when it comes to water management practices and resilience when faced with floods. For centuries, they have been fighting floods. I wrote a book when I was in the Netherlands called What We Can Learn from the Dutch, Rebuilding Kerala Post-2018 Floods. Some of the ideas which are there in that book is also something I will discuss with you. So let me start off with food. All of you here, especially those from Kerala, know that Kerala is highly dependent on import of food. We do not produce enough cereals on our own, though we were originally a rice-producing state, and even now there are pockets of rice cultivation. We also do not produce enough fruits or vegetables within the state. We have to bring them from other states. And any form of transport over long distance involves emissions, involves greenhouse gases. Kerala is blessed with a fertile soil, with plenty of rain and glorious sunshine. This should make us a leader in agricultural practices, and we should have been able to produce enough food on our own, enough fruits and vegetables. And there are a variety of reasons why we are unable to do that. But I will not, this is not a lecture on agriculture, so I will not go into that. What I want to bring to your attention is the fact that in Kerala, we also have problems of obesity, we have problems of undernutrition and absence of micronutrients, especially in our tribal and other communities. Are you aware that 86% of Kerala's urban population consumes inadequately fruits and vegetables? In fact, if there was enough consumption of fruits and vegetables, that will benefit local agriculture. When there is a demand, if all of you consume fruits and vegetables, automatically there will be a demand for fruits and vegetables, which will bring a good price to the farmer, who will then start growing fruits and vegetables. We have also, let me say, a great deal of food wastage. I do not know what the situation on the Jain campuses, what your dining halls are like, but India has a per capita food wastage of 55 kilograms per capita per year. And a recent study showed that one district, say Kottayam, alone has a wastage of 54.75 kilograms per capita per year. So we in Kerala take great pride on the fact that we are better than the rest of India in many areas. But when it comes to food wastage, we are as bad as the rest of India, and this should change. Let me bring you some information from Netherlands, where I lived and worked. In Netherlands, there is currently a campaign to tell people, eat more plants, eat more vegetarian food. And we in India have a great tradition of vegetarian food. So the Dutch, who have had no tradition of vegetarian food, are shifting to vegetarian food for health reasons, for food diversity, and also because the amount of emissions that are there in farms which grow cows or for the beef, in poultry, and in all non-vegetarian food is much, much higher. There is a Green Protein Alliance in the Netherlands which promotes plant-based proteins amongst its population. And today their consumption is about 35% of the total. Their goal is to get it to 50% by 2025. There is a big campaign similarly to eat fresh food and to eat local food. In fact, the big chefs in the Netherlands call it the Nouvelle Cuisine or the new cuisine, whereby only local food is used, only fresh food is used, only organic food is used. And this is a big campaign. There are food circles which connect local producers to consumers, to people who will consume, so that there is a bond between them and one can support the other. And in schools, there is a major campaign to promote healthy food and diverse food. Friends, the Dutch waste reduction program has resulted in the Dutch food waste coming down from 48 kilos in 2010 to 33 kilograms per year in 2023. So please compare it with what our amount of food waste is. And there are a number of projects, there are a number of initiatives to ensure that waste from restaurants, waste from hotels, food waste from supermarkets are picked up and either cooked or given as raw material to people who deserve it, to community homes. This is something which happens in India, in big cities, in small initiatives, but it can be expanded and made much larger if the Jain University, if the students and faculty take leadership in avoiding food wastage. And let me also tell you, there is, all of you would have heard of the Guru Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. If you go to his ashram in Bangalore, there's a huge dining hall where people are provided free food. But every day on top of the plates where you leave your plates, there's a huge board saying today so much food has already been wasted. A daily reminder that even with the best of efforts, food is being constantly wasted. This is something which can stop. This is something which can change. Secondly, let me go to energy. Energy again, Kerala once upon a time used to be a power surplus state. Today, there is rising demand for power across the state. You all know we are all sitting in air-conditioned rooms. It is estimated that our shortage of power is about 500 to 650 megawatts during peak hours. We import 75% of our power from outside the state, the bulk of it coming from thermal power plants, which use coal, which again emit greenhouse gases, and which is a fossil fuel. It is estimated that 3.5 lakh air conditionings were sold in Kerala in 2023. And out of the total greenhouse gas emissions coming from the energy sector, transport sector accounts for 54%, and the building sector accounts for 21%. Shankar is an expert on the building sector. He will talk to you more about this. In the Netherlands, across the country, across the world, there are many countries who have household energy efficiency programs. We do have a Bureau of Energy Efficiency in Delhi. They have introduced the star ratings for all electrical appliances. But how many of you focus on them? Before you buy a gadget, are you looking at the star ratings? Are you buying the most energy efficient device possible? In fact, something I learned from my son just a few days back, today there are smart plugs which you can put into a plug socket, and if you connect an appliance to it, it will tell you how much electricity is being used. You can check if there is any waste of any kind. So there are a large number of energy saving devices, energy saving measures which can be introduced in our buildings, in our houses. Once again, I hope Jain University will lead in this regard. And students can conduct energy audits. You can take the lead in conducting an energy audit within this info park, not just of your building, of your neighboring buildings. Please conduct an energy audit in your own houses. How much of power is being wasted? In fact, in many parts of India, it is said that the chowkidar or the peon is the most important energy efficiency device, because often people are careless. You don't switch off the AC when you don't need the AC. You don't switch off the lights. And people just walk out of a room without thinking that power is being wasted, energy is being wasted. Each one of us can contribute to change this. Again, the temperature settings on an AC, if you would just keep it at the optimal temperature and not make it too cold, you can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So please, each one of you, I would request you to think about it. Let me come to the transport sector and once again give you some shocking details. 54% of the emissions, total emissions in Kerala, come from the transport sector. Every year, the number of two-wheelers which come onto the roads is around 2 crores. The number of cars which come onto the road is 1 crore. The number of autos which come onto the road is about 6 lakhs. And the number of buses, 5 lakhs. So which transport is most sustainable? Are we emphasizing the most energy consuming transport, or are we trying to reduce the energy which is consumed? If the national average of use of public transport is 1.2% per thousand, in Kerala it is 0.31, an abysmal figure, which in 2023 compares to at least 1.3 per thousand, which we had in 2000. We are going more and more in the direction of cars. We are going more and more in the direction of scooters, and our public buses are coming down, and our public transport is coming down. And what is the most visible absence when you go around Kerala? How many boats do you see in our rivers? How many boats do you see in our lakes? We have started a water metro in Kochi. We are all very proud of it. It's a great initiative, but a handful of boats ply. Once upon a time, cargo transport predominantly in Kerala was through boats. Today, they've all come onto the roads. Because of the pricing structure in the railways, what should go by trains also comes on the roads. And all of you know the traffic condition there is. All of you know the problems that arise when we go onto the roads, when there are too many vehicles on the roads, including accidents. And here again, what is the lesson we can learn from the Netherlands? Cycling. I hope all of you know cycling. All of us as young people grew up. First thing when we grew up was to learn bicycling. Today, it is too dangerous to go onto the roads with a cycle because the drivers are rash drivers. There is not enough space for cycles. But a country like Netherlands is a model by creating 42,000 kilometers of dedicated cycling paths. Every major highway, every major road has a cycling path. And there are beautiful cycling paths which go through agricultural fields, which go through mountains, there are tunnels under highways which are made for cycles. So they have made cycling a true pleasure, which means zero emission of gas and good health for everyone who is cycling. In the Netherlands, when a new prime minister is elected, a new government is elected, and he goes to meet the king and say, I'm ready to form a government, he goes by bicycle. Can we please bring cycles back? Can each one of you contribute in some manner to bringing cycles back and to popularizing cycles within our society? In India today, cycle has become a poor-man's transport. Except for a handful of people who like cycling for sports and who go out, there are dedicated cycling groups in many of our cities. But that is not enough. We must bring back cycle as an important mode of transport, and we must bring back maritime transport. We must bring back port transport. Let me also say that in the Netherlands, one of the most popular bikes are also what is called cargo bikes. These are bikes with a big basket kind of structure in front, in which you can go shopping, you can bring your goods back, in which you can take your children, and you can use it for a variety of purposes. So cycles are not just for one person or even two person if you're going double. Cycles can have multifarious use. Now, let me come back to waste. We spoke about food waste briefly, but overall, most of you know Kerala's biggest problem is disposal of solid waste, disposal of liquid waste. Because of our climate, because of the heat, our waste decomposes very fast within our state. We produce about 10,000 tons of waste per day, but the amount of treatment facilities we have is only 3,025, just about 1/3 of the total which is produced. We have a wonderful initiative called Harida Karma Sena, which collects waste from different homes, and households are asked to segregate waste, but even they are collecting only 44.45% of total urban waste. How many people segregate electronic waste? How many people segregate biomedical waste? How many people are segregating organic from the plastics? And how are all these being disposed? Here again, there is a huge role that Jain University can play to become a model to everyone else in this regard. And this is an important role that each one of you can play to ensure that waste segregation happens in your house, to ensure that waste is properly disposed of in the most scientific manner, causing least damage to the environment. One football stadium in Amsterdam, Arena, where the biggest football team has its home, alone has a waste disposal project which converts 1,800 kilograms of waste into 92,000 kilowatts. I think this is a field of specialization of Renjini. She will talk more to you about this. There are huge campaigns for household reduction of waste. A waste-free week is organized every year where information is given regarding disposal of waste. And people are encouraged. I was asking today as I was coming here whether plastic is used and what kind of cups, how do you drink water. Each one of you can bring a glass bottle or a non-plastic bottle. I'm told there are water dispensers with paper cups, but even paper cups can be done away with. Paper ultimately comes from trees. You do not have to destroy trees if you would take the trouble of just bringing a water bottle from home and collecting the water directly. There is something called mitti cool. Once upon a time, again in our younger days, water was stored in homes in mud pots. And the mud makes sure that the water remains cool. You don't need a fridge. And today, a modern version of that called mitti cool jugs have been brought out, are available. Please, as youngsters, take the lead in popularizing this. Now, let me come to the last sector I wanted to talk about, which was water and water management. All of you, I'm sure, are aware of the big floods which happened in 2018 in Kerala, the biggest in 100 years. There was an equally, not the same scale, but an equally important flood, which again happened in 2019. Last year, we had the landslide in Wayanad, which was again caused by too much rain coming together in a very sensitive spot in the Western Ghats in Wayanad district. Kerala has 44 rivers. Kerala has 44 rivers. Our coastline is around 590 kilometers. All our lakes put together come to around 450 square kilometers. We live amidst water. We are surrounded by water. And because of climate change, which is not entirely in our control, there are extreme climatic events happening across the world. No country is spared of extreme climatic events, as which caused the Wayanad disaster, as which caused the floods in 2018 and 2019. How many of you are prepared to deal with a situation of floods? Many of you would have watched the movie. You would have read the news at the time. You would have watched the movie 2018, which told the story of the floods. How many of you are prepared? How many people here know how to row a boat, have sat on a boat, or are confident using a boat? Can anyone raise their hands? Not a single one. Okay, one person. Very good. How many of you know swimming? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But look at the size of the room. 6 people know swimming. This is a shame. We in Kerala, everyone must mandatorily learn swimming. Everyone should have some familiarity with the water. We must develop a water consciousness. The fact that we are living amid so much water, because of climate change, an extreme climatic event can happen anywhere. You can be caught in a flood. In the least, you should be able to swim to safety. You must be able to help others who are in distress if there is a flood. And that water consciousness must be built. Swimming must be learned. If you remember, why were the fisher folk great heroes during the 2018 floods? Because our people couldn't move from one house to the other. Some of them had never done any exercise that they could even walk through the water, and they had to be lifted up and carried. The people who live on the coast, the people who are fisher folk, they know what the water is. They have a close association with water. But the large majority of our state are people who live on land and have no relation to water. This must change. We must all learn about water. We must all know water. And water management must become an integral part of everything which is done. This is again Shankar's field to an extent. Spatial management, town planning. Wherever anything is built, wherever a town is planned, a road is planned, whatever the pavements on the side of the road is planned, there should be water drainage. The flow of water should be kept in mind. And there are many examples you can take from a country like Netherlands, which has fought the floods for centuries. And let me tell you, every child in the Netherlands mandatorily has to learn swimming, and has to learn swimming with your full clothes, including shoes on. Because you don't have time to rush and get a swimming trunk before a flood comes. Okay? So every child in the Netherlands is taught swimming. In a city like Rotterdam, a public square also serves as a water tank if there is a flood, if there is too much rain. The public square can be emptied. It is created in a waterproof manner so that water can be stored there. An underground parking garage can be converted into a water storage tank if there is a flood. And wherever possible, the Dutch today, once upon a time, they believed in building walls, which are known as dikes. They built taller and taller and taller walls to try and prevent water from coming in. 1/3 of the country is under the water. But today they have changed their philosophy. They talk about building with nature. What is one of the best defenses against floods? It is mangroves. Across Kerala, on coasts, along the rivers, along the backwaters, we can find mangroves. But unfortunately, people cut mangroves even though it is prohibited. These mangroves are protection against floods. They should be preserved, they should be strengthened, we should grow more of them. Similarly, in Netherlands, the philosophy is today, build with nature. Use natural tools to build with nature. Make room for the river. When a flood comes, ultimately the walls will not prevent floods completely. Create spaces where water can overflow, and water can be stored in a place temporarily and then released after the flood is over. And thirdly, learn to live with the water. That is what I meant when I said water consciousness. We must all learn to live with the water. There is a limit to which we can control it, and we must be able to manage it. We must be able to manage extreme climatic events. There is a wonderful example of water management in the area called Katakada, next to Trivandrum, which was taken at the initiative of the local MLA, IB Satish, who integrated various programs, who involved young students from a local engineering college to create a Jala Samriddhi Paddhati. As part of this Jala Samriddhi Paddhati, a water deficit area has been turned into a water surplus area. And when you turn an area into a water surplus area, automatically along with water, agriculture flourishes. And when agriculture flourishes, you can also have the possibility of tourism flourishing in a state like Kerala. He has taken the initiative to create water clubs in all the schools in that area and the colleges in this area, where young students meet. They are taught principles of water management. They are taught the importance of not wasting water and of recharging the natural reservoirs that exist under the earth. The slogan for them about water is a wonderful slogan in Malayalam. I'll just say, ഒഴുകുന്ന വെള്ളത്തെ തടയുകയും തടയുന്ന വെള്ളത്തെ കിടത്തുകയും കിടക്കുന്ന വെള്ളത്തെ ഉറക്കുകയും. Flowing water, stop it wherever you can. Once you have stopped the water, try and make sure that it stays there for quite some time. And finally, once it has stayed there for some time, make sure that it goes to sleep under the earth, always there, available to you as a reservoir to draw upon when you need it. So friends, I would like to conclude my remarks here saying, you can make the change. You must make the change. We are not ready for the future. We must change the future. It is within our capacity and power to change the future, to ensure that sustainable living becomes the norm in our communities, in our households, and in our society. And I urge each one of you to take careful note of what all our panelists say and see how you can implement it in your daily lives. Thank you very much. Friends, I've been also asked to moderate this discussion, and we will have Sri G. Shankar, who's a well-known architect from Trivandrum, who was awarded the Padma Shri by the Government of India, start with some opening remarks. Please, Shankar. You want to sit here and make? Yeah, he will make the remarks from here. We will have opening remarks from all the panelists, followed by some discussion with questions from me or from any one of them. And then we will throw open the discussions to the audience. You can also ask your questions.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given. And today, actually, we are discussing about building a sustainable living. Are you ready is the question posed before you. My dear students, let me tell you that now we don't have a choice. We are already very late on this. But as the English dictum goes, better be late than never. We are already late. I'm saying it with that conviction that we are already very late. And I belong to a fraternity which actually causes maximum damage to the environment. And the climate change that's happening in this world is due to some of the unsustainable practices as architects and engineers we are taking forward. Having said that, Venu was actually talking about water resilience in a way. He was talking about water resilience. Let me be very region specific. We have 41 rivers in the state, and all the 41 rivers are on certain deathbed. Water everywhere was the state in at least in our state. But when I say that all the 41 rivers are on the certain deathbed, as architects, we are actually aggravating the situation. I'll just read out one figure that should actually remain with you, because this figure should actually, it's a very painful statistic that I'm going to reveal to you. We are actually, water everywhere is the dream for us. We are using 5 billion liters a day. Let me reiterate my statement. We are using 5 billion liters a day in India to flush out the dirt from our toilets. We are using 5 billion liters of potable water in our toilets to flush out the dirt. Water everywhere, not a drop is the present situation. So that is the situation where we are in now. And in the building sector, I said we are primarily responsible for the climate change in terms of sustainability. A lot of compromises are being made. Unsustainable building techniques are being used. Unsustainable materials are being promoted. And we are actually sitting in a room where the basic parameter of healthy living, sustainable living, is being compromised. I'm talking about indoor air quality, which is being very highly compromised in this particular room. We look at the outside air, we find a lot of particulates outside. I'm telling you, I'm making a statement again. It's a brutal statement, but I should tell you that the indoor air quality of this particular room, which is a contrived situation. When you talk about air conditioning, it's a contrived situation. Your indoor air quality is very heavily compromised. This is 100% more polluted than the atmospheric air. Let me tell you that. We are in a very, very grave situation now where indoor air quality is being very, very, very badly compromised. And we are sitting at height. You just look at the valleys out there, you know, you get a lot of wind and light. Kerala, we are living in a country where there's such an abundance of beautiful wind coming in, such an abundance of sunlight. And we are sitting in a contrived situation, and that is not the answer. That is not the sustainable answer that we are looking at. Just to, initiate it in a discussion. This is the end result should be these whisperings, these kind of cries should lead you to some action point. We all need efficient, we need resource efficient, we need sensitive, we need people-centered, we need value-based, we need economical, and we need resilient strategies to combat this. Let me tell you that. We need economic, resource-efficient, resilient strategies to thwart these things, thwart the challenges that we are facing now. Now, I said building sector is primarily responsible for the climate change and for the compromise of sustainability in many ways. Talk about the carbon emissions, talk about the ozone depletion. Let me just read out a few more figures. The energy that is being produced in the country, 35% of the energy that is being produced in this country is being used in the pre-construction and post-construction scenario in India. 35% of the total energy that's being produced in India is being used in the pre-construction and post-construction scenario in India. Look at the wood harvesting. We continuously say that പരിസ്ഥിതി പ്രവർത്തനം എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ നിലവിളി പോലെ ഞങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നു. മരം മാത്രമാണ് മറുപടി. 35% of the wood harvest that's happening in India is being used in the residential construction sector. That's huge number, my dear friends. The forest cover is dwindling, and unless we have forests, that's the only answer for climate change as far as people like us are concerned. I mean, do not cut down the trees. It's a very primary intervention that you can do to save the world. Now, energy harvesting, wood harvesting, waste that is being produced in the country. She's going to talk about that. Huge percentage of the waste that is being produced in this country are construction debris, my dear friends. Construction debris. How to make products out of this construction debris is a challenge before us. We have been trying to do many things, but we have a validation system. Indian building, codes are there. This doesn't validate some of the technologies that we are trying to promote. That is why increasingly we are talking about using local materials and local technologies, earth buildings, bamboo buildings. We have structural limitations for that, but we realize that we are also getting it scientifically validated. When we say that lime is as strong as cement, we have a point to prove. It's scientifically validated. There are engineering limitations. When you realize the engineering limitations, it becomes a very beautiful material. We have the richest lime deposit in the world. Kerala has the richest lime deposit in the world. Look at cement. Look at all these. We are actually not, we have to optimize the use of cement, we have to optimize the use of steel because of the highly energy intensive manufacturing processes. Invalid, outdated process which eats up lots of energy. That's why we are increasingly trying to talk about local materials and local technologies, which talks about local capabilities, which is the sustainability mantra now. The end point is, we have to live within our means. That should be a mantra. This thing, When you talk about sustainability, how to live within our means, that should be the mantra. We are responsible for the built environment, and as technologies, as citizens, of this country, we should be aware of the grave problems, grave concerns that are before us. Staring at us at these problems will not help us. We have to ourselves, like Venu said, we have to strategize. We have to, charity begins at home. So we have to do that. I mean, individual initiatives can lead a long way in facing the challenges of sustainability. And that's for my brief intervention. Yeah.
Thank you. Please give him a... Thank you very much, Shankar. I think the Vice Chancellor has also joined us, which is very good. And Shankar started off talking about the air quality in this room. So in whatever construction Jain University does in future, perhaps you can keep in mind the fact that you are on a hill and there's a lot of wind outside. If only we would let it come in, the AC would not have to be used so much. Baiju, would you like to go next? Okay, then Renjini.
Hi everyone. I'm really honored to be on stage with these esteemed personalities here. And okay, I'm being referred to that person who's going to talk about waste. So when I talk about waste over here, when we are talking about sustainability and waste, I was on a panel with a person who made the GHE report for Kerala, and he was telling me the recent studies is showing that waste is the major contributor of the greenhouse gases. So he was referring to me that, it's very little we talk about waste because it's that taboo thing. We don't want to see, or we don't want to touch, we don't want to know about it. How it is shaping the whole environment around us. So when sir in the morning, Mr. Behar sir was talking about Brahmapuram incident. And the moment it happened, there was a lot of buzz around it. People were all talking about waste at that moment. So are we talking it right now? So now we have moved on. We are not thinking about Brahmapuram. We are not doing anything around it. So I remember when the Brahmapuram incident happened, there were a lot of calls for me because they were asking me to go quote on something, talk about it. But after that, whenever we are doing something around it, people really don't acknowledge because it is that part where none of us want to touch. And about glass, which is the main material I work with, we can always see that there is a lot of glass products and the bottles everywhere. Like you can see it everywhere because it is not being collected by the Haritakarma Sena every week or every month. It is collected once in 6 months. So because of that, when you host a party or anything of that sort, you know that the amount of bottles which come into picture. And this gets dumped here and there. And India, it's only 35 to 45% of glass waste is being recycled. And what happens to the rest? It just gets landed up in landfills, the rivers, everywhere, like water bodies. And it takes 1 million years to decompose if it is not converted into something. And it is endlessly recycled. So this is just glass. So I was talking about the debris which could be used in and made into alternate building materials, which is a solution, going forward, which is the future, because we will not have resources to spare for making new things. For glass, you can see that when there is a ban on plastic, everyone started using glass and paper. And sir had already told about paper. Paper comes from trees, so you know the implications of that. And what happens to glass? When it is not recycled, it doesn't get decomposed like any other thing. And we don't have enough silica from the sand, which is on the riverbeds, to get it and then produce new glass. So what happens then? Then we will start switching to something else instead of recycling. So every single material we use, including the paper we use, the pens we use, everything, it has become to such a point that these are all resources now. Every single thing around us is a resource. I was at a summit where people were talking about the cigarette butts, which doesn't decompose, and it is being thrown into the land just like that. And what happens to it? There is nothing happening to it. So there is one organization which is converting them into dolls. So they're stuffing it up and they're like, nothing can be done other than using it for something else. So these are materials, the alternate materials is the future. Future, you can see every single person who is sitting here. Now, when you look at things, you can see that, people are talking about pineapple leather. There is an organization working in Kochi, based out of Kochi, who is making coconut leather. So they make leather from coconut water. So that's being fermented and it's taken to a point that it looks like leather. So these are alternate materials around you, and we are always talking about future in this summit. So we can see that this is going to be the future. And what are we trying to do? Are we looking for the same things which we have been using, our predecessors has been using, and we are talking about it like, the plastic has come to a point that we don't want to have plastic, still we are forced to do it. So what are the new things you can invent? And there are a lot of students here. I'm sure that each one of you would come up with something which you think is right. And let's go talk to someone. So I started as a stupid idea where I was collecting it from the scraps and getting it home. I didn't know what to do with it, but later on I understood there is an implication, and that's where I started Vapasee. So I'm sure that every single one of you would have seen something as a problem. So let's address that problem and go forward. I would say that and close my statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Renjini. Fayaz, would you like to give your remarks?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Very glad to be part of this very distinguished guest. I come from a solar industry, and I'm very proud and happy to be here in Kerala, in this Jain University. But being part of Kerala and India at this time, I think for renewables and solar in particular, I think there's not been a better time. The Indian governments for the last couple of decades have been giving a lot of stress and emphasis on renewable energy and solar in particular. And all the governments, especially the present government, has stepped up exponentially the renewable energy targets that has to be achieved by India. And very recently, in January, February of 2024, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a 1 crore houses in India to be solarized. So if you look at the India's targets, it's 500 gigawatt is the target set by the Indian government to be achieved from non-fossil fuels by 2030. And till date, we are just close to, I think, 120 or 130. So it's a very long way to go. But I'm very happy that we are all progressing as a nation towards those targets. And Kerala also, if you look at it, even though we are a very small state compared to a lot of other states, but we have a very strong and educated population. We have our social inequality and economic disparity is very, very low comparatively compared to a lot of other states. And that's also showing when it comes to the penetration of solar in Kerala. So if you look at the latest statistics, we are number 2 across India when it comes to the implementation of this residential solar rooftop project. We have crossed around 900 megawatt of renewables, especially solar, in Kerala, as per the latest statistics, which is a remarkable achievement. So, anybody who lands in Kerala, you have Cochin Airport, for example, is the first 100% solarized airport in the world, which is a remarkable achievement, something that we all can be proud about. But I would like to again come back to the first statement I think Mr. Venu sir started with. The nation is growing and putting a lot of targets, and as a state also, the governments are giving a lot of support. But we as individuals, are we doing our bit? Are we doing enough? For example, we have around 1.3 crore houses in Kerala, 1.3 crore electricity connections in Kerala. Even now, we have less than 2 lakh houses which are solarized. If you compare to a lot of other states, very few states, of course, like Gujarat and all, they're far ahead when it comes to the number of solar installations. and Kerala is maybe catching up, but we still have a very long way to go. And I would not like to just say that when we talk about energy sustainability, it's just about solar. There's a lot of other sources. But we as individuals, we should also look at and stress a lot on our daily lives, how we use energy, how we conserve energy, are we doing our bit to avoid wastage of energy? So, you have the fossil-based vehicles. Now we're all moving towards electric vehicles. I'm very glad again I'm very proud that, Kerala is maybe the leading state in India when it comes to the electric vehicle penetration. Again, when you talk about electric vehicles, means from fossil-based fuels, we are moving our transportation to electricity. Again, we require a lot of electricity to meet the demands of our population. Like Venu sir again mentioned, we are sitting in an air-conditioned room. Our lifestyle expectations are increasing. A typical household in Kerala, we're using around maybe 1 kilowatt or less electricity. That was their demand. But the same household, when they install an air conditioner, straight away it becomes double just by installing one air conditioner alone. And air conditioner, as you know, the global warming, the temperatures are soaring, and it is not simply a premium product these days, or it's not an extravagance. A lot of people, very common people, electricians and plumbers and, daily wages people, especially in Kerala, you can see that many of those houses have air conditioners. And you have the easy financing schemes, You go to a consumer electronics shop, you don't even have to pay anything. You can just take the air conditioner to your house and then pay in monthly installments over 1 year or 2 years. So it's so convenient. So the lifestyle expectations of people are increasing, which is all contributing to higher energy consumption, which again, we should always think where is that extra energy requirement being met from, whether it is again from coal-based and other or whether from fossil-based, or whether it is from solar and other renewables where, it's easily accessible to people also these days. So currently, for solar especially, there is a huge government subsidy, 78,000 rupees subsidies there for a 3 kilowatt system, which is all helping, increase the penetration of solar. But I think there's a very, very long way to go. And again, like Venu sir said, in a lot of foreign countries you go to, the awareness about sustainability and environmental consciousness, and it's very high on an individual level as well. When I studied abroad for a couple of years, I remember 90% of my class used to ride cycles and come, so we used to wear all these suits, and at times we used to also have the hat, and all that. But then even for exams, we had the stuff first, but then we used to all ride cycles, and not just me, but my faculties, our principal, the dean of the university college, everyone used to ride cycles. We used to walk a lot, but if you look in Kerala, we typically, everybody has a two-wheeler, typically a bike or a scooty or something, and so I think that environmental consciousness or sustainability, those thoughts has to be there on a individual level. I think that's the next big change that we should adopt especially in like a state in Kerala as a starting point, and of course to other states as well. But I'm very bullish. I'm very optimistic about the future, especially being in Kerala. There's a lot of change. There's a very vibrant and young population, which has shown a remarkable potential for change. And I'm very bullish about it. And with this, I am concluding my work.
Thank you. Thank you, Fayaz. Baiju?
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm very proud to be part of this esteemed group. Okay. ഞാൻ തണല് വിറ്റ് ജീവിക്കുന്ന ഒരാളാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ഒരു തണൽ. Okay, planting and maintaining is our company's primary primary job. Okay? Taking barren land in the outskirts of Bangalore. Okay. Bangalore outskirts, height നോക്കിയ ഒരു 700 meter from sea level ഉണ്ട്. Okay. Except nights are very, very nice, but the direct sunlight is very harsh. So how to approach that leads me to plant and maintain trees. So we do all the research to make the shade faster and invite people to come and live there full time or in the weekend or as a hospitality guest. Okay. The COVID gave huge bad impact to the society, but COVID gave me good fortune. People started thinking more about nature and coming out, and my business started flourishing a lot after COVID. Now we reached more than 300 acres. Minimum plot size is 10,000 square feet. Every sales will add minimum 150 plants to that place. Okay, people started accepting this as an investment option and to try out nature and natural means of living. So we do completely natural farming. Natural farming include the manure is only cow dung and leaves. ചെടി വളരാൻ മൃഗങ്ങളും ചെടിയും മതി എന്നുള്ള ഒരു തിയറിയാണ് നമ്മൾ അഡോപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പിന്നെ കാട് പോലത്തെ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത പെട്ടെന്ന് സസ്റ്റൈനബിൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു എൻവറോൺമെന്റ് അവിടെ ഉണ്ടാകുന്നതായിട്ട് മനസ്സിലാക്കിയത് കൊണ്ട് പ്ലാന്റുകൾ അടുത്തടുത്ത് വെച്ചിട്ട് സൺലൈറ്റ് കോമ്പറ്റീഷൻ ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഗ്രോത്ത് കൂട്ടുന്ന പല മെത്തേഡുകളും ട്രൈ ചെയ്യാറുണ്ട്. കാടിനെ അനുകരിച്ചിട്ട് ഡിഫറെന്റ് ഹൈറ്റിലുള്ള ട്രീകൾ വെക്കുന്നത് കൊണ്ട് സൺലൈറ്റ് ഷുഡിൻ ഫോൾ ഓൺ ഇറ്റ് ഷുഡ് ഫോൾ ഓൺ ദ ലീവ്സ്. ഓക്കെ, ദെൻ the microorganisms will flourish faster and you need to put very minimal water. Okay, ഇങ്ങനത്തെ കൊച്ചു കൊച്ചു സംഭവങ്ങൾ സീരിയസ് ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ ശ്രമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അവിടെ വീഴുന്ന ഒരു മഴവെള്ളവും പുറത്തു പോകാതെ അത് അവിടെ തന്നെ സംഭരിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി ഒരുപാട് കുളങ്ങളും വാട്ടർ ബോഡികളും ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതേപോലെ തന്നെ അതൊരു റിമോട്ട് വില്ലേജ്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ നമ്മളുടെ മെത്തേഡ് പ്ലാന്റിങ്, മെയിൻറ്റെയിനിങ്, എവറിഥിങ് നാച്ചുറൽ ഫാമിംഗ് ഇസ് വെരി സ്ട്രേറ്റ് ഫോർവേഡ്. So we could give job to the local people, especially ladies. Minimum 400-500 people നമ്മളുടെ ഡിഫറെന്റ് പ്രോജക്ട്സിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ലേഡീസിന് ജോലി കിട്ടുന്നതുകൊണ്ട് ആ പൈസ അവരുടെ ഉന്നമനത്തിന് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നു. ആണുങ്ങൾക്ക് കൊടുക്കുന്ന ജോലിയുടെ കൂലി പലപ്പോഴും കള്ളുഷാപ്പിലാണ് ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ രീതിയിലുള്ള ഇൻ ദ ഔട്ട്സ്കേർട്ടിൽ ഈ രീതിയിലുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളാണ് നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇപ്പോൾ ലിവിങ് സ്പേസിൽ പല ഇന്നോവേഷനും വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ട്രൈ നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ വരാനുള്ളതിൻ്റെ ഒരു റീസൺ ശങ്കർ സാറെ പോലൊക്കെ ആളെ കണ്ടിട്ട് അതിനൊക്കെ കുറച്ച് ഇൻപുട്ടൊക്കെ എടുക്കുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്.
Thank you, Baiju. We will have an initial round of discussion amongst the panelists and then we'll come to the audience. Shankar, to start with you, we had the big floods of 2018. We saw the disaster in Wayanad. You're a person who believes that even in a crisis, even in a disaster, there are opportunities to make a new sustainable beginning. Can you please talk about this? How do we create a resilient Kerala?
I've been working in this sector all over the world for the last 3 decades in disaster mitigation, disaster resilience. And each disaster actually leaves you very important lessons. It also leaves you very critical opportunities. When you talk about resilience, when you talk about revitalization, it gives you tremendous opportunities to, respond to the challenges. Wayanad, as you know, is a part of Kerala which is very, very fragile, which has got a very fragile geological profile. That is what is being conveniently forgotten, We are talking about landslides. It's not the landslides that happened in Wayanad. Let me tell you. It's not the landslide that happened in Wayanad. Wayanad is facing a environmental disaster. I'm telling you, 2018 it happened at Puthamala. 2024 it happened at Mundakai and Churalmala. It's going to be a calendar event. I'm not trying to warn you, but it's going to be a calendar event. And Wayanad, we are going to have a series of landslides and things coming down. What is really happening in Wayanad is, I mean, at least the people with some kind of interest should look into the geological profile of Wayanad. It's fragmented rocks, soil, fragmented rocks, soil, a very strange geological profile that we have in Wayanad. What is happening in Wayanad, due to unsustainable agricultural practices and unsustainable building practices, water is getting into crevices. They are forming huge water bodies under the soil. And during the times of heavy downpour, it just breaks and comes out. If you look at the videos that happened, the videos that were taken during the start of these, things that happened, you could really clearly see that it happened from the middle of a mountain, and then it came down with gravity, wiping out a few of these things. Wayanad, as you said, Kerala, for instance, we have a very different land profile. If your buildings do not follow the contours of the land, it's going to be a disaster, my dear friends. We have midlands, we have coastal line, we have mountains. And our buildings should actually follow the contours of the land. If you try to flatten out everything, it's going to be a disaster for Kerala. That's what's happening in Wayanad. That's happening all over the state. That's happening all over the world. What we call as Maidan, epitomes of Maidan architecture. A building should belong to the land. The building should not be on a mountain. The building should be off a mountain. That's what we mean by organic architecture. Building should belong to the land. And we have a huge legacy of that. I don't want to go at length with that. The traditional legacy of architecture always responded to always talked about climate resilience, always talked about all these disaster resilient things like that. Having said that, even the building forms. I've been to Gujarat to look at rehabilitation, resettlement after the Gujarat earthquake in 1999. I saw beautiful old tribal huts right at the hub of this disaster, Puja Najar. They were all round bungas, bungas, the old tribal things. The shape, the form, the material, the local techniques, they were all disaster resilient. That's a huge legacy that we have. So when you look at Wayanad, there are many, they just left with so many lessons, First, this thing that when you talk about Wayanad rehabilitation, look at aggregation of data that's not being taken. World over, we are talking about sustainable approach. This is a huge opportunity to drive in sustainability. Answer, not looking at prefabricated structures, not looking at flattening the land. This is a unique opportunity to drive in sustainability in many ways, looking at, appropriate solutions to that. And social aggregation of data is not happening. We have to increasingly talk about gender sensitive architecture. We have to increasingly talk about inclusive architecture. We have to increasingly talk about a local vocabulary of building materials and technologies, which are disaster resilient. Very simple interventions. We can create, in disasters, what happens is that people are traumatized. And how do you address the question of traumatized mind? Is to hold hands with them. Through local materials, through local technologies, through local architecture, can we reduce the trauma? It's a big question when you're talking about sustainability. That's my brief interview.
Thank you. Thank you, Shankar. If I can just ask a follow-up question, and if you could simplify for our audience. You said one, don't build on the hill. Build on. No, you said build off a mountain, not on a mountain. Can you explain it a little more? And these last words that you use, gender-sensitive architecture, inclusive architecture, what would you mean by that? What kind of practices are possible? Also, can we ban human intervention?
Very briefly, I respond to that. I mean, disasters don't kill people. My dear friend, disasters don't kill people. Buildings do. Number one. Disasters don't kill people. Buildings do kill people because people get trapped. Who are the people who are getting trapped? Look at Wayanad. The old people, the women, the children, Kedappu those who can come out of the bed. These are the people who get trapped during disaster situation, and these are the people who are getting killed. You should also understand the politics behind it. It is always the poor people. It's always the people who are on the margins. It's always the deprived people who get killed during such situations. That is number one. That is why I call this strategy as an inclusive strategy. Unless you address this, unless you have inclusive design strategies, that should include disabled people in, that should include sick people in. How do you design for sick people? Is a different domain. Time doesn't allow me to wider doors for the toilets, ramps for the houses, wider doorways to come out, basic making the buildings monolithic, making buildings homogeneous. These are the technical questions. I don't want to get into that, but very simple solutions. Very simple solutions, we can do that. Instead of going for high-tech prefab technologies, high-tech technologies, imported technologies with our own materials and technologies, we can have wonderful magical solutions for the rehabilitation. That's one thing. Second thing, especially, in terms of sustainability, this huge thing that is being compromised, which people like us don't agree to. One is, we have to look at resource efficiency. We have to look at resource efficiency as the final answer. Resource efficiency should be the mantra when you talk about sustainability. When we talk about resource efficiency, it talks about local resources. Sustainability means local, depending on local resources and local technologies and local capabilities to build up. How to build up that is a technical question. We have the knowledge, we have reserve, we have beautiful vocabulary of building material. Where else in the world? I'm telling you because I'm working the world over. Where else do we have such a beautiful vocabulary of building materials and technologies? We have it. Our capabilities, our resource bases, our land. We have all the solutions to ourselves. The only thing is that strategy should be different. It should be inclusive. It should be gender sensitive, and that is what the disaster should teach us.
Thank you. Renjini, could you give them some suggestions on what they can do with everyday household waste or waste which is available in the university? Both glass, which is your specialization, as well as other things.
So the main thing is to reduce the consumption of it, to why waste is generated. Because we have a concept, if you ask people who are from the earlier generation, they will say that they were not using any use and throw things. That's not their way of life. So over the time, what happened is there are a lot of consumables which has come into picture where you can just use once and then throw. So in their canteen, I have been in the campus for quite a while. So their canteen is already having a system where they're using steel plates and glasses. So this itself is something as a start, I would say, because it inculcates a behavioral change in people. Because this, wherever we are talking about at World Forums, wherever you're going, the first thing we need is behavioral change. So, I don't know how many of us use an ink pen now. So we are so obsessed with the plastic pens. Most of these, when I talk to the generation right now, though I don't belong to this particular student community, I know that most of us don't use ink pens now, which again is contributing to the waste. This is the basic contribution we all are doing. Household waste is definitely a thing which we all need to speak because it has to be segregated. So once the segregation is done, half the problems are over. What happens to the unsegregated waste is that Brahmapuram showed us, because when it is not segregated, it is being dumped. When it is segregated, it goes into different areas because there is money coming out of it. The plastic waste which we have, there are alternate materials which are made from it. Even the plastic covers, the Milma covers which we have, there are alternate materials made from it. So what happens is when you stop segregating, when you stop taking that first step for that change, then everything stops there. The first step is from home, and it is very small changes which we can bring about. If we can't move a mountain in a day, for sure. So the smallest thing, she'll say, how many clothes do you want? So I'm wearing a sari, which I sourced from a person, I mean, like very dear person of mine. And when she died, she had given all, I mean, she had told her son that he should give all the saris to me. So because I reuse it, I make things out of it, I use it. So why it was not given to anyone else in the family? Because no one want to reuse it. There is no problem in reusing. There is no problem in thrifting. It is also a fashion you can embrace. Now, when we talk about it, I'm seeing this generation, which who are students right now, they are embracing it. They are okay to have a thrifted material. I have a thrifted bag. I don't have any problem. I remember I went to buy a thrifted bag. My mom got so embarrassed, and she was like, she called up my brother who was in London and told her, look, next time when you're coming, you have to bring a bag. So I was like, why did you do that? And my brother, without even me knowing the whole dialogue which has gone behind, he's bringing me a bag. So I was like, why did you bring me a bag? I didn't even ask for one. He was like, no, mom told that, I think you don't have a bag and you don't want to spend on it. So you went and thrifted it. So I was telling my mom, this is not why I thrifted it.
What do you mean by thrifted?
Yeah, thrifting is that, you buy old things, especially those consumables, like dresses, small items which you see at home. So the used furniture was, we are okay with the used furniture because it's like fine. But when it comes to dresses, when it comes to materials, like, accessories for that matter, how many of us thrift accessories? Now there are groups in Cochin where we have WhatsApp groups where thrifting is done. Pre-loved goods are being sold. So I bought a bag from a pre-loved thing. It's a vintage high design bag. Who doesn't want it? But I don't want a new high design bag. That is not the concept. So I don't mind telling it to everyone that it is okay. It is okay. It is a fashionable thing as well. You go abroad, it is normal. It is not about abroad or anywhere else. Owning your own thing is always nice, but owning so many things is not something nice. How many of you have thrifted? I'm sure that most of you know about thrifting by now. How many of you have used a pre-loved thing? Pre-loved thing. Like, it's pre-loved.
I'm sorry, I'm too old for this new jargon.
Sorry.
Pre-loved thing.
Yes. Just one person. Look at the room size. That's what I'm talking. Okay, two. Look, we have examples.
Can I just add to this? One, I would encourage all of you, if ever you get an opportunity to go to Chandigarh, to go and visit a very famous garden there, created by a person called, it's a rock garden created by a person called Nek Chand, which is entirely made out of recycled material, waste material, reused material. Nek Chand was not a great artist. He was a junior employee in a government organization. But he had an interest in converting waste into art. And he has created a wonderful rock garden, which is one of the main tourist attractions in Chandigarh. You can also look for it on Google and on your YouTube. Similarly, let me tell you a real life example from Netherlands. When the King of Netherlands came here, he had with him a lady foreign minister. And this foreign minister worked with a designer. They went to the front of Safdarjung Tomb in Delhi, and they had an entire photo shoot with her wearing 100% recycled material clothes. Everything on her body was made of completely recycled material, including all her jewelry. So this is also called upcycling. What Renjini was saying now, upcycling is taking something what you have and adding value to it, not just thrifting or handing it over, or not just being pre-loved, but think of how can you add value. You're wearing a white top, right? Can you add a design to it? Can you add some extra accessories to it, whereby it becomes even more valuable than what you have? So upcycling is a very popular concept now, In many Western countries, you find specialized shops which engage in upcycling. In Fort Cochin, I saw at least one shop. So each one of us, again, this is a tradition we have lost. In our childhood, we would all remember everything coming down as handed downs from somebody else in the family or from an elder brother or an elder sister. But now we have embraced the throwaway culture of West. But instead, we can recycle, we can reuse, and we can upscale and bring new value. And all of you who live in the internet age, you use Facebook, you use Instagram. Please upcycle what you have in your house and put it on Instagram. You might earn money out of it, which you can use for whatever else you want. So all that is required is to be imaginative and innovative on these matters. And at the bottom of it, avoid waste. Don't waste things, especially those which will damage the environment. Glass, all the glass bottles in your house, how can it be reused? Can it be painted? Can you put plants in it? Can you use it for storing water? Think of what are the uses that you can make to it rather than just throw it.
So I would like to add to it. At the student Binale, we have a chair which is actually made from a old thrown away chair. So we have added calligraphy to it. So we have made one of the student do a calligraphy on it. And from that, we have created cut things from it and made a chair into a new thing. So we want this culture to go into the students. Like, it is normal to do it and it's a swag thing also. So let's do that.
Okay. Thank you. Fayaz, building on your earlier remarks, you talked about solar rooftop. I don't know. How many people here would have solar rooftops in your house? Can you raise hands? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. There's a big market waiting for him. But can you tell them more, first of all, about the incentive scheme so that they can go back to their parents and talk about it? The government gives a subsidy, right? Can you give them some detail? And what else in solar beyond solar rooftop? Once upon a time, we used to have water heating with solar. There are lanterns, there are street lights. What are the other daily use items which can use solar? And of course, the frontier is cars which run on solar energy or boats which run on solar energy.
So like I told earlier, the lifestyle expectations, the lifestyle is changing. We are all installing air conditioners. Earlier we had a 21-inch TV. Now we are all having 34 and 50-inch TVs at home. The electricity consumption is increasing on a daily level. So on a household level, government is giving a lot of incentives. At this point of time, for a typical 3 kilowatt, which is good enough for a residential house, like 90% of the houses in Kerala will require 3 kilowatt or less capacity to meet their energy demands at this point of time. So a typical solar power plant will cost around 2.25 lakhs. But then there is a huge government subsidy about 78,000 rupees, which is close to around 30%, 35%. Subsidy is there. So effectively, you have to only shell out 1.4 to 1.5 lakh rupees to install a solar power plant. And a lot of these banks are also being incentivized by the government to give easy financing to install solar. So you have 7% interest rate loans available, easy repayment for 7 years. And so whatever you pay for electricity as monthly electricity bill these days, if you pay exactly the same amount or even less than that, you can actually own a solar power plant. And there's no other tough conditions and stuff like that. And to answer to the other question, see, solar is a great opportunity, like he was saying. So in this room also, hardly 8 or 10 of you have installed solar at home. It's a great business opportunity. So any of you, if you'd like to, if you have any plans to become an entrepreneur, you're more than welcome. The market is so huge. The opportunity is so large that, and the potential for solar and renewables in Kerala and in India is very large. The good margins, good business opportunity. You can give a lot of employment, and the barriers to entry is also very low. You don't need too much capital and investment also. And entrepreneurship is something that I'm really passionate about, and that's why I'm
You're encouraging them to become entrepreneurs.
No problem, and that's something that I actually encourage. I have not I started this company and then saw the first solar panel. So, and in the same breath, I would like to say that I have not decided that, okay, till the end of my life, I'll only do solar. So more than welcome for all of you to become potential entrepreneurs, and it's a huge market opportunity.
I hope all of you understand how this works. Do you all know how the solar rooftop works? You see, there is now across India, almost completely, we have a smart grid. So you put solar panels on the roof. The experts know where to place it, how to place it so that you get maximum sunlight. The panels generate energy, which flows back into the grid. And for your daily consumption, you draw from the grid. At the end of, I have a 5 kV solar grid in my house. I'm increasing it to 6 as of now, as we speak. So depending on your consumption, every month, the KSEB sends you a statement saying this is what you consumed, this is what you exported, this is the balance. If the balance is in favor, it goes into a bank, an account for you. If the balance is less, then you have to pay the electricity bill to the KSEB. There are normally fixed charges, but also depending upon how much electricity is generated, there is money which KSEB is supposed to pay to you. So it's a fairly simple system, but as he mentioned, there is an initial investment of 2.5 to 3 lakhs, for which the government gives a subsidy about 25 to 30%. But the remaining has to be contributed. And the theory is that you make it back through energy savings through the lifetime of that solar plant. In most cases, unless you're running heavy ACs, your electricity bill really comes down with the solar.
That's right. Thanks for contributing. Exactly right. So when we started a company in 2012, we had to go out to the market and educate people on what solar is and why you should install solar, and then we also had to convince them to why you should choose our company other than other companies as well. But these days, after around 12 years, 13 years in the business, it doesn't take us so much effort to convince people about the need to install solar, the benefits of solar. A lot of people already know about the benefits of solar, the economic benefits, the environmental benefits, all that. So it's more about convincing them to install solar with the right quality. That is what we stress these days. So when we started a company in 2012, like you said, solar water heater. So basically, solar water heater is a device which actually, instead of an electric water heater, you install a solar water heater on top of your rooftop. Your water heating requirements are met by the solar water heater without any additional cost thereafter. So when it comes to solar, the initial capital cost is the only initial burden, but beyond that, then you almost have free electricity or free heated water that you can use. So in India, in Kerala, if you look at any of the global economies, like if you look at the Middle East or you look at Europe, you look at US, all these countries are investing a lot on renewables, especially solar, and also a lot of wind installations are also happening. There are windmills that are set up, which huge windmills, like 200 meters high windmills. There are windmills which are installed in the oceans these days, and it's getting very popular, especially in Europe, in various other countries, which are generating a lot of electricity to meet the demands, energy demands of a lot of countries. See, the renewables and solar, it has got an environmental aspect to it. It also has a financial aspect to it. There's a lot of savings. And then, like I said, there's a lot of employment opportunity, entrepreneurship opportunity. But from a geopolitical level, also from an energy security perspective, renewables and solar is a big thing these days. So you have the Russia-Ukraine war that is going on, and then you always keep hearing about news about Russia supplying their gases to Europe. But then when the Ukraine war is happening, ideally they wouldn't like to get those gas from Russia, but then they are left with no other option. So as a country, one of the major reasons why India is also investing heavily on solar and also ensuring that the solar manufacturing is also becoming completely indigenous is also with respect to the energy independence, energy security perspective.
Thank you. Baiju, ഒരുപാട് interesting concepts പറഞ്ഞു. One, you talked about, first of all, tunnel as a service. Secondly, planting shrubs, trees, plants close to each other. So there is sun competition and sunlight competition. And Baiju പറഞ്ഞത് sunlight ഒരു അംശം പോലും ഭൂമിയിൽ വീഴരുത്. അത് ചെടികളിൽ മാത്രമേ വീഴാവൂ. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സോളാർ പാനൽ വീണാൽ നമുക്ക് ഇലക്ട്രിസിറ്റി കിട്ടും. പിന്നെ വെള്ളം തടുത്തു നിർത്തി പിടിച്ചു നിർത്തുന്നു പറഞ്ഞു. കുറച്ചുകൂടെ അതിനെ ഒന്ന് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ?
ഇത് ചെടികളെ നമ്മൾ പണ്ട് അഗ്രികൾച്ചർ രീതിയിൽ കാണുമ്പോൾ ഓക്കെ അത് ഒപ്റ്റിമൈസ്ഡ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസേഴ്സിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒരു ഡിസ്റ്റൻസ് ആണ് പറയുക. ബിറ്റ്വീൻ 2 coconut trees you need 36 feet, between 2 orange you need 18 feet, etc. for the maximization of the produce or the fruit. But for the moment I am doing, how fast you get shade is the game. I don't have patience to wait for 5 years to get the shade. So I mix different varieties of trees, different levels of trees closely, so that everybody is striving for getting sunlight. Then you play around with cutting the branches of whichever is your preferred one in the future. Okay. So the first 2-3 years is the critical period for any plant to grow in a very harsh sun. Okay. So during the time, support your primary tree with banana and rain trees, etc., to give a sunlight cover. And whenever you need, you feel like your fruit tree is ready, you can cut it. Okay. So my point is, I'm not approaching the planting and maintaining only in the optimization of fruit production, in the aspect of shade. Shade is the first priority. Then fruit is the second priority. Is what I try to.
I will go back to Shankar with or one more round of questions, maybe before we give it, throw open the floor to the audience. But let me just say that it is extremely important, each one of you here, know your environment. You should know what are the plants around you. You should know what are the birds around you or the animals that are natural to our state. Ideally, this should be taught in our schools, but I don't know how much all of you learn in schools. At least in the university, try and catch up. And there are a lot of technology tools. If you have Google Lens, you just have to point it at a tree. If you point it at a plant, it will give you the name. It will give you background. There is an app created by Cornell University called Merlin, which is free to download. On that app, you can listen to the sound of a bird and it will give you the whole history of that bird. It will show you pictures. You can take a picture and you can upload it with a smartphone and it will identify the bird with you and you can save and store what are the birds in your area. So please learn about the plants around you, learn about the birds around you, learn about the environment in which each one of us live. Shankar, to go back to your fundamental specialization, how do we put sustainability into architectural practice? I'm glad Mr. Tom Jones is also here now. One of the first comments Shankar made was about this room. This university is at a height, there's plenty of wind, but we are relying on AC. Why? If we had more windows, more light, more wind, it would be much cooler naturally.
It actually needs a long answer, but I will cut it short to probably 1 minute or 2 minutes. One is, as I said before, I mean, we have an abundance of sunlight and we have huge winds, passing through us. If you really orient the building well, if you really orient the building in such a way that we got a lot of wind into the building, if you place the building in such a way that, all the rooms are cross ventilated, if you put the houses or the buildings in a way that we get maximum sunlight in, that itself is talking about a different language now. It talks about resource efficiency, it talks about energy efficiency, it talks about eco-sensitivity and the rest of it. By that little intervention, very simple intervention of orienting a building well, you are talking about a new domain of architecture, we are talking about a new language in architecture, and that again talks about the local legacy of architecture. And that's my one-liner design strategy for, sustainability.
Thank you, Shankar. Renjini, back to you. We briefly concluded the last discussion on your field saying each one of them can upscale, each one of them can rescale. But what is your biggest challenge? Have you run an NGO which is also engaged in the same process? Why is it difficult to convince people to do this? What has been your experience? Is it easy to convince people?
It is not easy to convince, but I think 4-5 years down the line now, people are taking things a little more seriously, I would say. Now, when you talk about upcycling, there are a lot of people who will understand it. Initially when I started it, I don't think anyone, even I myself, didn't know the term. So when we are talking, at least people are understanding it. I guess that's an achievement.
Fayaz, you want to add something, or shall we take a question from the audience?
No, I just wanted to, we have this excellent panel and discussion happening. If something concrete could come out of this, I think that'll be great. Something actionable. You are a very young student population, Jain University. You have all the resources here. Maybe there are a lot of apartment blocks just around Kakanad in this region. Maybe if you can go to those places, spread the message of sustainability, a simple message like starting a thrift week or, thrift day where, in an apartment block where, where on that particular day when people can just bring their used stuff which they don't need and they can exchange or they can do and spread the message of, planting trees and make more people educated about renewable, solar, all that. So if something really concrete could come out of this, I think that'll be excellent.
Thank you. Baiju, അവസാനമായി അവർക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉപദേശം കൊടുക്കാൻ സാധിക്കുമോ? അവർക്ക് എങ്ങനെ അവരുടെ വീടുകളിൽ അവരുടെ ചുറ്റുവട്ടത്തിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന പോലെ കൂടുതൽ തണൽ കൊണ്ടുവരുവാൻ സാധിക്കും?
ഇത് എല്ലാവർക്കും കുറച്ച് സ്ഥലമെങ്കിലും ബാക്കിയുണ്ടാവും. നമ്മൾ ഒരു കാർബൺ ക്രെഡിറ്റ്സ് ഇതിലെങ്കിലും ന്യൂട്രലൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽസിന് ട്രൈ ചെയ്യാം. നമ്മൾ ഒരു മണിക്കൂർ ഡെയിലി കാർ ഓടിക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിനെ കൺസ്യൂം ചെയ്യാനുള്ള പല ബാമ്പുവാണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ സജസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അത് വെക്കാനും അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിൽ ഇതിനെ ന്യൂട്രലൈസ് ചെയ്യാനൊക്കെ പല രീതിയിൽ എല്ലാവർക്കും ട്രൈ ചെയ്താൽ അത് നമ്പർ ഒരുമിച്ച് കൂടി വരുമ്പോൾ അതൊക്കെ വലിയൊരു കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ ആയിട്ട് മാറും. മരത്തിനെ സ്നേഹിച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ എളുപ്പമാക്കാൻ പറ്റും. താങ്ക് യു.
മരങ്ങളെ എല്ലാവരും സ്നേഹിക്കുക. Please give him a big round of applause. I know we have reached 1 o'clock. Maybe 1 or 2 questions if anybody would like to ask. Yes, please. Right at the back.
Can you please pass on the mic, please?
Yeah. Please also indicate to whom you would like to address the question. Mic over there.
So my question is for Mr. G. Shankar and Mr. Baiju. Baiju, sir, you had mentioned initially about the harsh sun that you face, which is a common reality even in parts of Kerala. So considering that, how do you make utilize natural lighting when you're constructing? That is one question. Secondly, Mr. G. Shankar, you had mentioned about instead of air cooling, we can make use of wind. How do you make use of wind while also keeping interiors cool? Are you talking about thermodynamics, or is there something else that we can do there? And thirdly, you had also mentioned about the 5 billion liters of water that are being consumed on a daily basis. So is the solution something like, I know about Cape Town where they are recycling sewage water right now. Is that the kind of solution you're looking at, or is there something else?
Can you please repeat the question once again?
Okay, Miss Baiju, my question is: you had mentioned about the harsh heat, harsh sun that you're facing in your in your business. That's a similar reality for Kerala also, in a lot of parts of Kerala. So considering that, how can you utilize natural lighting when you're constructing homes while also keeping it cool?
The Kerala, when comparing with the Shoolagiri and Kerala, Kerala have more humidity. So even if you are under the shade, the temperature reduction is pretty less. But places like Shoolagiri, it's as I told, it is 700 meters above sea level. Once you are under the shade, there is no humidity, so you feel much cooler. But wherever you introduce trees and keep your house and the wall under the shade, definitely the temperature inside your home will reduce.
ഹാർഷ് സണ്ണിനുള്ള ഉത്തരം കൂടുതൽ മരങ്ങൾ നടുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്.
അതെ അതെ. ഡയറക്റ്റ് സണ്ണ് കുറയ്ക്കാൻ ഷെയ്ഡ് ഈസ് ദ ബെസ്റ്റ്. ബട്ട് ദർ ഈസ് എ കമ്പാരിസൺ വിത്ത് ഹ്യൂമിഡിറ്റി ദർ.
ചോദിച്ച ചോദ്യത്തിന് 2 ചോദ്യമാണ് എന്നോട് ചോദിച്ചത്. ആദ്യത്തെ ചോദ്യത്തിന് വളരെ ലളിതമായിട്ടുള്ള കൗതുകകരമായിട്ട് ഉത്തരം തരാം. ഈ കാക്കയെ പോലാണ് കാറ്റ്. കാറ്റിനെ പിടിച്ചാൽ അകത്തേക്ക് വരും. ഒരു പ്രശ്നം മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ, അതിന് ക്രോസ് വെന്റിലേഷനുള്ളൊരു ഓപ്പണിംഗ് കൊടുക്കണം. അപ്പോൾ കാക്ക നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിൽ കയറണമെങ്കിൽ എതിർവശത്ത് വാതിൽ തുറന്നിട്ടാലേ കാക്ക നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിൽ കയറുള്ളൂ. അതേപോലെയാണ് കാറ്റ്. എതിർവശത്ത് ഒരു തുറപ്പ് കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വാട്ട് വി ആർ meaning by having cross ventilated rooms. That will bring in wind. Second question is, നമുക്ക് തണുപ്പ് വേണം. നമുക്ക് ഈ രാജ്യം ഉരുകി ഇന്നത്തെ this is one of the hottest days of the year. എങ്ങനെ തണുപ്പ് കൊണ്ടുവരണം എന്നുള്ളതിന് വളരെ കൗതുകമായ ചില ഉത്തരവുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞ 15 വർഷമായിട്ട് മൺവീടുകൾ മാത്രം വിൽക്കുന്ന ഒരാളാണ്. മണ്ണ് is an insulating material. There are several techniques in our building technology which talks about insulation. Insulation is bringing തണുപ്പ് to our house. അത് നമുക്ക് അത്യാവശ്യമാണ്. നമുക്ക് ഈ ഇലക്ട്രിക് AC ഇല്ലാതെ, നമുക്ക് ഫാൻ പോലും ഇല്ലാതെ നമുക്ക് ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള ഭൗതിക സാഹചര്യം കൊണ്ടുവരണം. അതാണ് ഞാൻ രണ്ടാമത്തെ ഉത്തരം. മൂന്നാമത്തെ ഉത്തരം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ വെള്ളത്തിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ്. വെള്ളം നമുക്ക് സെഗ്രിഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ കഴിയുന്നില്ല. നമ്മൾ വേസ്റ്റ് വാട്ടർ, നമ്മൾ വേസ്റ്റ് ഈസ് വെൽത്ത് എന്ന സുഹൃത്ത് പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ നമുക്ക് വേസ്റ്റ് വാട്ടർ വളരെ ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യാം. ഒന്ന്, നമ്മൾ മഴവെള്ളം സംഭരിക്കണം എന്നില്ല, നമ്മൾ മണ്ണിലേക്ക് ആഴ്ത്തി കൊടുക്കുക. മണ്ണിലേക്ക് ആഴ്ത്തി കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വി ആർ റിപ്ലനിഷിംഗ് ദി വാട്ടർ ടേബിൾ. ദെയർബൈ നമ്മൾ റീചാർജിങ് എന്ന് പറയും ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ. റെയിൻ വാട്ടർ ഹാർവെസ്റ്റിംഗ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് യഥാർത്ഥ റെയിൻ വാട്ടർ റീചാർജിങ് ആണ്. ഹാർവെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാമല്ലോ, ഒരു 5 മിനിറ്റ് കൊണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ടാങ്കുകൾ നിറയും. അതിനേക്കാളും നല്ലത് നമ്മുടെ വെള്ളം ഒരു തുള്ളി പോലും ഓടയിലേക്ക് വിടാതെ നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിൽ വീഴുന്ന വെള്ളം നമ്മുടെ ഭൂമിയിലേക്ക് ആഴ്ത്തി കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വാട്ടർ ടേബിൾ വിൽ റൈസ് അപ്പ്. ദാറ്റ് വിൽ കേറ്റർ ടു us. ദാറ്റ് വൺ തിങ്. നമ്മുടെ റെയിൻ വാട്ടർ മൊത്തം നമ്മുടെ വേസ്റ്റ് കടലിൽ കൊണ്ട് കളയാണ്. രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം, നമ്മുടെ റീസൈക്കിൾ ചെയ്യാൻ നമ്മുടെ വേസ്റ്റ് വാട്ടർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിൽ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്ന വേസ്റ്റ് വാട്ടർ വളരെ ചെറിയ ലളിതമായിട്ട് ഇതിക്കൂടെ ഞാൻ ഒറ്റ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞ് അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാം. നമ്മുടെ സ്യൂവേജ് വാട്ടറിൽ ഏറ്റവും മോസ്റ്റ് പൊല്യൂട്ടഡ് കണ്ടാമിനേറ്റഡ് സോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് വാട്ടർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ സ്യൂവേജ് വാട്ടർ, ടോയ്ലറ്റിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന വെള്ളമാണ്. ഞാൻ പറയട്ടെ, ടോയ്ലറ്റിൽ നിന്ന് വെള്ളം വെറും 15 മീറ്റർ 50 അടി നമ്മുടെ ഭൂമിയിലേക്ക് കടത്തി വിടാമെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ് അക്വയർസ് ഓൾ ദി ക്വാളിറ്റീസ് ഓഫ് പോർട്ടബിൾ വാട്ടർ. Let me reiterate my statement. If you put sewage water directly into the ground and if you can travel 50 feet or 15 meters, ഇത് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നതല്ല, വേൾഡ് ഹെൽത്ത് ഓർഗനൈസേഷന്റെ കണക്കുകളാണ്. ഇത്രയും കണ്ടാമിനേറ്റഡ് സോഴ്സ് വെള്ളത്തിൽ കൂടെ മണ്ണിൽ കൂടെ പാസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇറ്റ് അക്വയർസ് ദ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഓഫ് പോർട്ടബിൾ വാട്ടർ. നമുക്ക് ഇത്തരം ലളിതമായ അറിവുകൾ കൂടെ വെള്ളത്തിനെ നമുക്ക് പുനരുജ്ജീവിപ്പിക്കാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിക്കണം എന്നുള്ളതാണ് എൻ്റെ ബ്രീഫായിട്ടുള്ള ആൻസർ. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്.
താങ്ക് യു സർ.
ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ പറഞ്ഞുകൊള്ളട്ടെ. നമ്മുടെ കൊച്ചിയിലെയും കേരളത്തിലെയും റോഡുകൾ കണ്ടാൽ പലപ്പോഴും പേവ്മെന്റ്സ് ഒരുപാട് കാശ് കൊടുത്ത് ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ ആ ഗ്രൗണ്ട് മഴ ഉണ്ടാകുമ്പോൾ അത് എങ്ങനെ ഗ്രൗണ്ട് റീചാർജ് ചെയ്യും എന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ച് ചിന്തിക്കുന്നില്ല. നമ്മുടെ വീടുകളിലും എല്ലാവരും സ്റ്റോൺസും ബ്രിക്സും എല്ലാം ഉപയോഗിച്ച് പേവ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ധൃതിയിലാണ്. അതേസമയം മണ്ണായി തന്നെ നിലനിന്നാൽ വെള്ളം ഗ്രൗണ്ടിലേക്ക് പോവും. ആ ഗ്രൗണ്ട് ടേബിൾ വാട്ടർ ടേബിൾ റീചാർജ് ആകും.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Any other question?
Do we have any more questions? Or is it okay that we conclude the session? All right. Thank you so much. And I must say, let us give a huge round of applause to these wonderful panelists who have brought in so much unique ideas and perspectives, thereby inspiring not just thoughts, but also actions. I'm pretty sure at least some of them is going to purchase a thrift or plant more trees or take any of the actions you have all mentioned. Thank you so much. And please accept a token of love and respect from our end. And may I humbly request our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. J. Lada, to kindly join with us on the stage to express our appreciation and gratitude for having steered this conversation into such a great direction. To our moderator, Professor Venu Rajamony, our Honorable Indian diplomat, thank you so much, sir, for having seamlessly steered this conversation, this discussion onto a very, very thought-provoking one. Thank you again. Thank you so much for encouraging how the Jain universities can take its part in this sustainability, not just for the moderation, but also the keynote address. And now may I humbly request Dr. G. Shankar, the Honorable Founder and Chairman of the Habitat Technology Group, to kindly accept our gesture of appreciation. And thank you so much for making us cautious about the air quality in these interiors. And it is a point to be addressed. Thank you so much. And the tree lover, an inspiring person, let us all put our hands together for Mr. Baiju Chakkum Kulangara, the Honorable Founder of Sanctity firm, Shoolagiri, and of course, Sir Paranadil in the main inspirator. Let us all try to plant at least one tree or one plant, thereby contributing to our future generations. And thank you so much, sir. And may I humbly request Mr. Mohammed Fayaz Salim to kindly accept our memento of deep respect to you. And thank you so much for all the insights you have brought to this room about the solar panels and the solar energy renewals. Thank you. And finally, may I very humbly request Ms. Renjini Thampi, the Honorable Founder of Vapasee, to kindly join with us. Thank you so much for encouraging our crowd to address at least one problem that you are facing and take an action towards it. Thank you so much, each one of you. Thank you so much, Jailada ma'am. Can you also please join the panelists? And can we all please get one photograph
I think
together?
I should make a clarification. I was under the misunderstanding that this building belonged to Jain University. Madam has clarified that your campus is much better designed. But anyway, I think we will have to tell Kinfra this room is not ideal.
True that, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let us loud applaud and cheer for this wonderful group who have enabled us thoughts on building a sustainable future. Thank you once again.